let's say that all of these 10, can you guys see this? Is this clear?
Maybe if you use
Maybe you can use it like a.
Married.
Yeah, that's
That's
better.
better,
That's better.
yeah.
That's better.
What about Hillary?
Okay.
The Republican candidate.
Basically, you just need to know that Donald's over here and there are like 10 people over there. There are 10 people. Let's say that these 10 people, this is completely made up, by the way, it's not realistic. These 10 people all share similar ideologies, so, but they differ in some small issues, so that like a lot of the population, you know, I might support Bobby because he's from my home state or something. So they all share similar ideologies, and then this guy over here is just completely different from everyone else. And then in the election, let's say that each of these candidates wins 9% of the vote, because they all win 9% of the vote, basically. So then these are 10 candidates, that adds up to 90%. And then this guy wins the remaining 10%. And these the 90% of people who are voting for candidates on this side all share pretty much similar ideologies, but they're just splitting up their vote somehow. Who wins this election?
According to our election system, Donald.
Right. And is that a problem? Why is that a problem? No. Mathematically, why is this a problem? Yes.
Me?
Yeah.
Because the majority of people are voting for someone other than Donald.
Exactly. Only 10% of people are supporting this guy, but he's still going to win in our electoral system. Is that democracy? Okay, so this isn't actually what happened. What happened was much more ridiculous, but this basically explains plurality, which, does anyone know, so we don't call our electoral system majority, we call it plurality. Does anyone know the difference between plurality and majority? Yes.
So plurality,
Do you want to come up a little more?
So majority is.
No, like,
I can just stay here.
okay.
So majority is like when one candidate wins more than 50% of the vote,
Mm-hmm.
whereas plurality is when the candidate who wins the most amount of votes wins the whole thing.
Yeah, so just a bigger share than everyone else, right? So in this case, this guy had a bigger share than everyone else, but clearly, 90% of people do not support this guy. 90% of people would prefer, someone from that group. So that's not fair. How do we solve this issue?
I have an issue.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody votes, and that's the total outcome. It's something close to that. And so the candidate with the least percent of the vote is taken out, and then all of their voters go and support another candidate, and then do that again and again until you get the winner.
That's very interesting. Do you know what that's called? Okay. It's very interesting that you know that, though, because I did not know that when I was your age. But, yeah, so how would we implement that in practice? Do we just have, like November 7th, and then November 8th, and then November 9th, and then November 10th?
I think that in our age it can happen a bit faster than that, but yes.
So you would have people going to multiple rounds of voting, basically. Okay, what about you? Yeah.
You can have everybody list who they want the most, so from 1 to 11. It's like, Bobby first, Rick, and then Mike, and then Donald,
Mhm.
and then you could have like everybody's little sheets that they list.
Yeah.
in order.
So we can actually, how do you guys know these, by the way? Because I definitely do not know these.
The internet, obviously.
Oh, you guys are smart. That's what you're saying. Okay. Yeah, so basically, if we combine your two ideas, your idea is kind of a subset of his idea. Because if you take his idea, you can cross out basically the candidate who gets the least amount of votes and then, decide from there. So you don't need multiple rounds. You can just, so the solution to,
And like if the least wanted candidate, their votes like go to the
Right.
second wanted
Yeah, yeah.
and the third.
Yeah, so that's one way of doing it. But basically, a lot of voting systems that aren't plurality rely on a ranked ballot where you list the candidates in order, in some sort of order. So we're gonna switch to a different set of candidates, not as interesting or flamboyant as these, unfortunately. They will be. We will have candidates A, B, C, D, and E. And you wanna help pass these out? One for everyone. Wanna pass these out? So, can someone, if we have candidates A, B, C, D, and E, can someone give me like a ranking of the candidates? Just like what a ballot might look like. Anyone? Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
No, but which candidates?
Just put them in order.
Okay, yeah. So A, B, C, D, E is one ranking of the candidates, right? Can anyone calculate how many possible rankings of candidates there are? If we have 5 candidates, yes.
120.
Very smart. So there are 120 different ways of ranking candidates, but let's say that everyone somehow converges and decides to use 5 different rankings. And these are the preference lists that are on your papers. So let's say that this is a certain order, A, B, D, E, C, and 22 people want this one. And then let's say that 16 people do B, C, E, D, A. 18 people do C, D, B, E, A. 19 people do D, B, E, A, C. And E, D, B, C, A gets 21 votes. And obviously there are 115 other ways to rank candidates, but let's just say that everyone goes with these 5 for some reason, one of these 5. Does everyone understand what this board says? Someone tell me what this board says? What are these letters? Why did I just write letters?
Because basically they're just the candidates.
Yeah, this is like one order of candidates. So this is like from like most wanted to least wanted, basically. And then this is the number of people who choose this candidate, or choose that way. Okay, so based on plurality, who wins this election? Which is the system we talked about, or the system we use in the United States. Different hands. Your dad's looking at you, you might as well answer. No, you.
Me?
Yeah.
Their A would win.
Right, because A got 22. If it's plurality, we basically only care about who gets the first place vote. So A wins in this case. If it's the United States. Or a lot of other countries. Okay. And then the method you kind of talked about, which is called instant runoff. Basically, we eliminate the candidate who got the least amount of votes every time. So, who do we eliminate the first round? Yes.
B.
Why B?
Because they got the least amount of first choices.
Yeah, so B only got 16, so we cross out B. Okay, who do we eliminate next? Different hands. Yeah, no, yes. Do we eliminate C? How many, who?
He had 18, which was after 16.
Right, but what about this? So this one, after we cross out B, the people here technically are going to vote for C next time.
Okay.
Because B's like out of the election.
Okay.
Yeah, so who would win this?
A got 0.
A got 0?
Yeah, A got 0.
A didn't get 0.
Wait, 6 votes.
No. So we have we crossed out B. So people who are, if A was ahead of B before, it doesn't matter that we crossed out B, because the people who voted along this line are going to vote for A again this time, since A is still in the election. The only one that matters is this one. We changed, because these people were going to vote for B, and B is no longer an option. So essentially, if we can combine these votes into votes for C, so it's like C gets 34 votes. So who gets crossed out this time? Yes, D only has 19 votes compared to 21, 34, and 22. Right. So we cross out D. So did these 22 voters change who they vote for this round?
No.
Right, because A was still their first choice. What about these voters?
No.
Okay. What about these voters? No? These voters?
Yes.
Yeah, so who did they vote for first this time?
E.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, and also, I kind of find this strange, but it's like we use the plurality system for our like selections, but when we count who's leading in the Olympics, we take the total amount of medals, which isn't exactly.
I think Google takes the total amount of golds, which kept us in first place actually for a while. Okay. Good question. Okay, who gets eliminated this round? Different hands. Anyone new? Parents. Parent, yeah. Who gets eliminated this time?
A.
Why does A get eliminated?
A got 32, C got 34,
How many did E get?
got 40.
Right, so A gets eliminated. Okay, who gets eliminated in the last round?
D.
D's already gone. Why does C get eliminated? How many votes did C get this round? $24. So C got these votes, right? Which is 16. And then C also got these votes, 18. So C got 34. And then how many did E get? Yeah, the remainder. So E won. So by instant runoff, we call this instant runoff, E wins the election. So of plurality and instant runoff, which is more fair? Why?
Because it's more like, I really don't know how to express this, but I guess you could say it's like more varied. Like you have more choices. You know what?
So you get to put more opinion into this.
Yes.
Okay. Anyone know? Yes. Do you want to say something?
No, like it's better because I think it has like more fairness.
Okay, that's a weird concept, but that's an interesting concept. Great. And then there's actually another system. It's like a subset. It's kind of like a subset of runoff where you basically only have one round and you just eliminate the candidate who gets the least amount of votes the first round, and you just go to second round. You can do different round. You can do like, you can go until someone has a majority, someone has, some certain percentage. But I'll just write that on the board really quickly. And I'm really sorry that we're only doing like A, B, C, D, E. Like if we could do like superheroes or like candy bars, maybe it'd be more interesting. But it's hard to keep track of those. So
There would be a lot of people
maybe. Okay, so if we only do one round of runoff, what happens? Someone new, someone who hasn't participated yet, including parents. Yes. Do you want to come to the board? Oh no. Yeah.
B gets eliminated.
B gets eliminated. Right. And then if we just try to find the winner after B gets eliminated, who's the winner? Yes.
A.
A is the winner? Are you sure? Do you remember what happened to people who were going to vote for B first?
C.
So who's the winner?
C.
Yeah, so C would be the winner if we do one round of runoff. Isn't this interesting how we have different candidates winning based on the different methods we use? Seems a little suspicious, right? Okay. Who can think of another way of voting? Yes.
Take the this ranked voting method, but assign the weights.
Okay.
So for example, anyone who voted for first choice, that counts as the first choice votes count for 5 votes, the second choice votes count for 4 votes, and so on.
That's very interesting. Did you take a class like this before?
No.
Okay. Do you know what we call that system? Did everyone hear what he said? So you basically, according to him, you assign point values based on what place each candidate gets. So if people who vote, so if A is in first place, A gets 5 points, and then if A is in last place, A only gets 1 point. Does that make sense as a system?
Yeah.
Do you guys want to calculate who wins doing that
Yeah.
by yourself?
How much of that?
Do we have pencils or do we want to do it?
One.
And then I'll start doing it on the board, but my arithmetic is not very fast.
5 plus 7 plus 8 plus 9 is 3.
Wait. Yes.
Can you not, please? So we have 22 A's.
So remember, first place gets 5 points, second place gets 4 points, third place gets 3 points, fourth place gets 2 points, fifth place gets 1 point.
What Adam could have done. So I mean, what Adam could have done better.
He has 200 into it.
God, it's so many.
Anyone arrive at an answer yet?
No.
Okay, let's start adding more. We're gonna add these up.
I can't. I think B and D tied.
Someone else want to keep out of CD and E? You want to come up?
B and D are both 359, right?
Joe. That's right, according to my calculator.
Adam, for B it should be 164, not 162.
Oh, sorry. My math sucks.
In that case, B wins.
Yeah.
So C gets 359 and B gets.
Guys, if you see other maths, point it out. Who wins?
B. Yep.
Yeah, he wins. Okay, so we call this a board account. It's named after some guy.
Good job. Good job.
Isn't it strange how B didn't win any of these, but B won this one? Weird. Does anyone know any other ways we could do a board account, but with different weightings? Different, like, numbers we multiply by? Yes.
You do it exponentially.
Um,
So it's 1, 2, and then 3 is 4, and then for the second choice it's 8, and the first choice it's 16.
okay.
That uses more points, but
But then my question to you would be, does it make sense for if I'm a voter and I really like all of A, B, and C, I don't like they're all basically the same. I just like B more because of his hair or something. If I rank them B, C, A, is it fair for B to get 4 times as many points as A, even though like I have a very slight difference in preference? It could be fair. I don't know. But I think that one would result in. Actually, not sure. I'm gonna do that on the computer later while you. But there's another weighting that's commonly used around the world actually, or at least in one country called Nauru.
For like the same day except for the fifth choice, you can do like voting numbers. So
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah.
We could give everyone more than one vote and then they can vote.
That's a different system, actually, but we will get to that.
I think that what was said about how 5 should be a negative number, I don't quite agree with that.
Why not? Okay, here, let me ask all of you a question. What if we changed it to 4 points for 1, 3 points for 2, 2 points for 3, 1 point for 4, 0 points for 5? Who wins in that case? Who wins?
B.
Yeah, because you just subtract 1 vote from like everything, right? Okay.
So voter chose 5 of them, then if one candidate was your 5th choice, it would have literally no result or a negative result on that candidate.
Right, so there's always going to be like a debate over weighting, but there is another weight scale that's used actually. Instead of, so do we all know like how this is like kind of like an arithmetic sequence? 1 plus 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5. You talked about we call that a geometric sequence where we multiply by something every time. So 1, 2, 4, 8, 16. There's another one we call harmonic. Does anyone know what that is? Yes.
I think it's like, it goes up by the same proportions.
That's geometric.
Not exactly.
Like 4, 6, 9.
That's geometric.
Not exactly.
Wait, never mind.
It might just be a guess, but maybe the choice number 1 is X amount of votes, and then if a candidate for second choice, they have half of X.
Okay, and then what about the third choice?
It would be a third of X.
Yeah, so that's a harmonic sequence. So first choice gets 1, second choice gets half, third choice gets a third, fourth choice gets a fourth, fifth choice gets a fifth. And it turns out if you do it this way, then D actually wins, which is very weird. Do you want to do it? You can do it on your paper if you don't believe me. Okay. If we do it with harmonic, then D wins. And then there's actually one more system that's commonly used. Yeah. That's different. So we're going to stick with lists of candidates for now. These are called ranked order systems, or ranked voting systems. Anyone? Yeah, any ideas? This one's kind of hard actually. But it used to be popular in ancient days, but it's not used in any current government elections anywhere. Any guesses?
So the person who was voted last place the most gets out.
Yeah, so that's kind of similar to instant runoff. I haven't actually experimented with that. I'm not sure what would happen. Yeah.
Is it like the candidates are they're ranked by their average position?
Can you expand on what you mean by average position?
So like you put a first place. It would be kind of like a board account, except like in reverse. So like a first place vote gets 1 point, second place vote gets 2 points, third place vote gets 3, and so on.
And then you go by lowest score.
And then like you add them up and then divide by the number of voters. Would that change anything?
You'd get the same results as quota. You'd get the same results as Okay, we should hurry up. Sorry. The last system is called Condorcet. And basically what happens is you look at each pair of candidates pairwise, and you try to see who would win if it was just those two candidates running in the election. So, for example, if we want to look at A versus B, and if it was only those two candidates running, who would win A versus B? Yeah. Why would it win? No, but if we only look at those two candidates pairwise, so basically it's like instant runoff, except we cross out everyone except A and B. So in this election, who wins, A or B? Who wins in this election, A or B? Okay, let's keep a running total. So A gets 22 here. What about this one? Who wins?
B.
Right, because these people would vote for B first.
16 plus
Okay, B also wins here.
18.
Yeah. Who wins this one? B. Who wins the last one? Okay, so clearly A is not going to be our winner in this case.
Wait,
What's up?
I'm confused. How is A not a winner?
Because we're comparing candidates pairwise.
I know, but
If we compare just B versus A,
yeah, I know. Then A would win.
no, B would win.
Wait, what? But A has more votes.
No, but if we're just comparing candidates pairwise. So if it was just
I know. A has more votes than B.
if it was just an election with A and B, then these people, C and D and E aren't relevant. So they would vote for B.
Oh. Oh.
Same thing here. So if it was just A and B in the election. So B would win in that case. Let's compare B and C. Who wins the first election? Who wins the second election?
B.
Who wins the third election?
C.
Different voice. Who wins the fourth election?
B.
Who said E? Who wins the fourth election? Second election. Yeah. Yeah.
B. 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 D. B.
Oh, sorry. Okay, who wins the fifth election?
C.
B. C.
Why would C win? Okay, B wins, right? Because if we forget about E, D, and A, then B wins. So B wins. Who wins? Who wins if B and C get pairwise?
B.
Who?
B.
Okay, let's compare B and D now.
I win.
Who wins B and D here? Guys. Who wins this one?
B.
Who wins this one?
D.
Ooh, twist. Who wins this one?
D.
Okay, and then I'm gonna pick a random person for the last one. Who wins this one? You do. One of you. Who wins this one? If it's just between B and D. If it's just an election between B and D, who would win this group of voters?
D.
Yeah, D. Okay, so D wins against B. And then basically, if you do all of these pairings pairwise, D wins against everyone. We can just check that right now. D beats A, D beats A, D beats A, D beats A. So clearly D beats A. We showed D beats D. D beats C. 22 plus 19 plus 21 is more than these two. And then D and E, D beats E, D beats E, D beats E, compared to 39. So D wins by this method, which we call Condorcet. So does anyone have any conclusions about the different systems of voting? Yes.
We can also use all of them. We find out which one's used in the most.
Say that again?
We can also find out which is used in the most methods.
In the most different, who wins amongst every single system out there?
Yeah.
There are too many systems to keep track of.
No, only a few, but whoever wins in the most.
But then how do we choose which systems to
That
use?
is so.
That seems like an undemocratic, because like if I want B to win, I would just choose board account.
No, you'd actually have multiple of that.
Okay, then I would choose, if I want D to win, I would choose these three. But
No, you wouldn't choose it. You wouldn't choose
that's scary. You don't want elections on computers. But basically, the conclusion we can get to from here is that basically you can have, and some elections you can basically choose which candidate wins by choosing what election method you want, right? Because something like Condorcet, for example, it's always going to favor the candidate who people kind of like over the other candidate. So this could be like a candidate in the center, like a median candidate who appeals to everyone. Whereas board account, since you're assigning points, you're kind of choosing like a consensus candidate that people can kind of agree on. Plurality, that system's just like messed up. But basically, the conclusion we can come to is that all of these systems can choose different winners. Yeah.
So what we're using right now this year?
We are using plurality. We have been using plurality in the United States. There are people. Actually, let's get to next point. So, which voting system is most democratic? All of you. Which one of the ones we discussed is most democratic?
Runoff?
What?
Runoff?
Instant runoff?
Yeah. No,
Which one?
what? Instant runoff.
Instant runoff?
Yeah.
Okay, so actually that's, a lot of people, there's a website called Fair Vote, and a lot of people are behind switching our electoral system to instant runoff. But instant runoff has a big problem. And I will show you why. So, let's say we have only 3 candidates this time, A, B, and C. So ABC gets 5 votes, CBA gets 4 votes, BCA gets 3 votes, BAC gets 1 vote. Do you want to come up and do the instant runoff? Yeah. So who gets eliminated the first round? Why does B get eliminated the first round? How many does B have? B only has 1?
Oh, wait,
3?
4.
How many first place votes does B get? We only consider, whenever we do instant runoff, we only consider the first position. So how many first place votes does B have? 4. How many first place votes does C have? 4. How many first place votes does A have?
5.
A has 5. So A wins, right?
No,
A does win in instant runoff in this case.
but
But
not technically.
let's do something weird. Let's say that this person decides to vote. Let's say this person likes. Okay, you can sit down. Sorry.
No, I think we win.
Let's say that this person decides that this person likes A more, right? So we're going to put A ahead of B for this person. So then this ABC basically becomes 6, right? Right? So because this person moved A place up, let's do instant runoff again. Who gets eliminated the first round? Okay. Who gets eliminated the second round?
A.
Yeah. So what happens when the person moved A up? A went from winning to losing. Is that democracy?
No, I don't quite get that.
No, because other places are
It
blocking.
just happened.
Like,
Did you see
you're
how
saying that A lost because the person moved to A.
moved A up?
But that's not what happened.
That is what happened.
Wait,
Yeah.
No, what if? Wait, can I come on? Can I do like a bar graph thingy?
1 second. Yeah. So basically, that's a problem with instant runoff, and that's highlighted across. That's basically whenever anyone suggests like fair vote, let's do instant runoff in the U.S. There are going to be groups that say when you move people down, they might actually win. When you move people up, they might actually lose, and that happens in instant runoff.
I don't understand how moving A up would make it move.
Did you see how it happened then?
Yeah. But
Okay, so it's like a paradox. It just
also,
happened.
I don't even see how A lost.
Because
C plus C. is
C won these and C won these, so C got 7.
Yeah, but
And A only got 6.
how did moving A up?
It just happened.
But I don't understand.
That's the problem with the system.
But what? I don't understand the problem.
I think you want to know what does that mean by a move up? Right?
Oh, so the person originally was voting BAC, but then this person wanted to switch it so A gets the first place vote now. So because they switched their vote to this, A lost. Even though this person...
But I don't get that. How?
It's a paradox. It just happens.
No, but how does that? Because that helps me.
But did you see how it resulted?
A would have lost either way.
No? A won the first time.
A won the first time, but not the second.
We'll talk about it later, but I'll stay around to talk about it. But anyone else? Other suggestions besides instant runoff?
Which system is best?
Maybe we could have another system.
We'll get to that.
Condorcet.
Yeah, but the problem with Condorcet is that you can have it can basically be like rock, paper, scissors, where voters prefer A to B, voters prefer B to C, voters prefer C to A. And then what also can happen in Condorcet is you can have a tie between two voters. And there are some, or tie between two candidates, right? So like if A and B both win against every other candidate, but A and B tie against each other, then that's hard to resolve. There are some systems of the Condorcet method that resolve that, but those get very tricky and unfair also. And then with board account, basically, what happens is you have like A, B, C, D. We all agree that plurality is like the least fair of these systems, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Or fair in our sense of fair. Okay, so if 70 people want this order, 70 people vote for A should win, right? But what happens in this case is A gets 280 plus 40 plus 280 plus 30, which is 310. B gets 210 plus 30 plus 80, which is 320. So B would win in this case, even though 70 voters prefer A to B. So that's the thing with board account is because some people know this is a problem, so then they'll put B artificially down, even though they would prefer B ahead of everyone else. So that's not fair either. Basically, what happens with ranked voting systems is a mathematician named Arrow came up with Arrow's impossibility theorem, which basically says that if you take like 3 basic criteria about fairness in voting systems. So like one of the criteria is that if every voter prefers A to B, then A should always win over B, right? That seems fair, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but Arrow basically showed with 3 criteria, pretty much similar to those, no ranked voting system ever satisfies those 3 criteria.
Oh, no.
So that means all ranked voting systems are not truly fair.
What are the criteria?
So one criteria is that if every voter prefers A to B, then A should always win over B. That makes sense, right? Another criteria is that the final ranking of 2 candidates should not change if I change the ranking of some other candidate in between them, right? So basically, if B and the order of B and A shouldn't change if I move C here or something, but that would change the order in this case. That's called independence of irrelevant alternatives. And then the 3rd criteria is something about how basically there shouldn't be like some voter in every election that can basically decide the election. So if you take those 3 criteria, every single ranked voting system is unfair in some way.
So who comes with this preference list? Who comes with the list, ranking list?
What do you mean? Oh, the voters come with the ranking list. So these are just 4 ranking lists. There are 24 possible different ones. So like, if B is my first choice, and then D, and then A and C, that's a preference list. But we're just simplifying to like 4 unique ones just to make counting easier.
So I think if there's 4 candidates in the UI election,
Yeah.
the voter, instead of vote one person, they, oh, okay, I know.
Okay, yeah, they just rank them in order. And there should be 24 different ones, but we're just simplifying to 4. So if ranking doesn't work, what's another system we could try? Yeah?
So maybe we could get, like, each person gets some votes, and then they could either vote for a specific candidate or a political party, and then if they
Yeah,
vote
so like
for-
if you get 10 votes and you have to distribute them yourself, you can put like 7 on one person.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one way. And then there's another way that's actually like a simplified version of that called approval voting, where you basically, for every candidate, you check a box, yes or no. Yes is 1 point, no is 0 points. And you can check as many boxes as you want. So you get like A, B, C, D, E, and then one voter could be like 1, 1, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1. But can anyone guess, is there a problem with approval voting? Will there be, given all these problems?
They can't say how much they approve of that.
Yeah, yeah, so you can't really rank candidates in that system.
Yeah, it's like, I like this thing about this candidate. I like this thing about Mr. A, but I don't really like this thing. So I'm in the middle, but I can't give him a 0.5.
Yeah, yeah, so you can't really rank. And then there's also something, this makes it susceptible to something called bullet voting, where basically out of fear, I might not vote for D, even though I like D. Maybe I like D ahead of D, but I'm not going to vote for D because I don't want to give that point to D. Because I want A to win. Because you can't, give, a different
Ranking.
a different value of points between 0 and 1. And you can do like -10 to 10, but there's actually another theorem out there that basically says you can't really find a fair voting system if you number them anyway. So there are no fair voting systems out there, but I would do the exponential calculation for you later. We'll see how that goes. Yeah.
Why don't you do the same thing but with lists of 2 candidates?
What do you mean?
So, to simplify it, let's say we have 3, so there's A, B, A, C, and all the other ones, and those each have 0 or 1, the list. And then those are put through one of those processes, but the lists are supplied from that. So there are more lists.
Yeah, that's kind of like preference voting, though. Preference voting, there are more lists than 5. I just didn't write them out because I didn't want to confuse people. That's 4:30. Any questions, guys? We'll get to your questions. Is it the same question? Yeah, we'll work on it on the board. Yeah?
Why can't people just vote for like what political party they want it to be in, and then the political party chooses who's going to be?
That's not a democracy.
That's kind of like the electoral college.
That makes things even more complicated, actually, especially when you have multiple winners, or if you weigh people's voting differently. So maybe this happens with like on corporate boards when you own stock. So maybe like if I own more stock than you, then my vote gets weighted more, and that just makes things so much more complicated. But conclusions about the voting system: is our voting system fair? Which voting system? Okay, honest discussion here. Which voting system seems most fair out of these? These
Harmonic.
are the popular ones.
Harmonic.
Which one?
Harmonic.
Harmonic with border cap?
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. But then my question would be, if we have like A, B, C, D, E, if I really like A and B, then B only gets half of A's vote. But if I hate both of D and E, if I like D but I hate E, D gets a quarter of a vote and E gets a fifth of a vote, and that's really not much difference. It's very little difference compared to like this difference. But yeah, harmonic seems fair. Board account is used widely in a lot of places.
Why don't you do like 1/2, one full, 1/2, 1/4, 1/8?
Yeah, so like the exponential system you talked about. I will look into that. But I think that would result